We're nearly a month away from the release of Pokémon Sun and Moon, yet we're still getting even more information about it. In the case of this latest trailer, we were introduced to several new evolutions and characters. But we're never satisfied, which is why it's time to start up the old analysis machine once again to see what secrets and hidden details we can find. Just what can we learn this time? Well, let's take a look at Silvally first, the evolution of Type Null. Interestingly, its name seems to be a portmanteau of silver and ally, which owes to its nature. You see, Type Null won't evolve until it finds a partner that it can trust, at which point it'll destroy the restraining helmet that it wears, increasing its speed immensely. What's unique about Silvally is that it really doesn't change that much when it evolves. Its chimera-like body stays the same, while its gray fur turns white and we can see Silvally's face. However, it does become taller by over a foot and lighter by almost 45 pounds, indicating just how heavy and restrictive the helmet was. Once it's free, Silvally's senses are heightened and it returns to its more wild nature, yet it will still obey the trainer that it trusts and will risk its own life to protect them. But the unique thing about Silvally is its ability, the RKS system, which is able to mutate the Pokémon cells and change its type. Silvally's tail, head, and eyes will glow based on the type that it currently is, thanks to these mutated cells. That sounds awfully familiar though, doesn't it? As many Pokemon fans have pointed out, this is basically the same ability as Arceus' multi-type, and even the ability's name reflects this, RKS. Type Null and Silvally are a human attempt at creating a synthetic Arceus, hence why its power needs to be limited. Rather than plates, the Arceus system utilizes discs that are placed in the slots at Silvally's head. The 17 different discs, or memory as the Japanese trailer refers to them, changes Silvally to the type of the disc. But in addition, Silvally has a move that only it can learn, Multi-Attack, which changes its type to whatever Silvally currently is. And even this Multi-Attack name is a reference to Arceus and its multi-type ability. So here's the question. When or how does Silvally evolve? In the Japanese trailer, we see Silvally at level 50 when the player is deciding which memory disc to have it hold. These memories include fire, water, electric, grass, ice, fighting, poison, ground, and flying, so it seems like it won't be too difficult to track these down. But real quick, this scene also gives us a look at the item bag and the different tabs that are included. Based on the symbols, we have medicine, items, TMs, berries, key items, some kind of heart symbol, and the Z crystals. Unfortunately, we're not sure what the heart could mean. Are they special items to increase happiness? Could they be the beans? Or is it a kind of quick access favorites list? We really don't know. Anyway, as we said, Silvally is on the team at level 50. But we never see either its or Type Null's level when they're on our side. It's always in relation to Gladion. So how does the player eventually obtain Type Null? Because here's the thing, if you receive it from Gladion, it doesn't really work in terms of this level because we see that Gladion's Silvally is level 53. So that either means you find your own Type Null at a lower level, or it's possible to breed it. But this is all just conjecture, and likewise we're not sure when it would evolve. But we believe it may be connected to happiness based purely on the Pokemon website description. After all, it specifically mentions that it won't evolve until it fully trusts its trainer, but we'll just have to wait and see. Next up is Jangmo-o's evolutions, Hakamo-o and Kommo-o, both of which are dual dragon and fighting types that keep the same abilities as Jangmo-o. Once Jangmo-o becomes Hakamo-o, it begins to live and train on its own. Because of this, it often appears wherever it can find Pokemon to battle with, and before these fights, it will dance to show its strength. Hakamo-o clangs its scales together to make them ring loudly, before ending with a fierce war cry to finish the challenge. These same scales provide excellent armor to the point where Hakamo-o doesn't worry about defense. Instead, it focuses on striking repeatedly in order to overwhelm its opponent. But this strategy has the side effect of Hakamo-o's scales becoming damaged and torn off. Fortunately, they grow back immediately, so it's less of a concern and more of a way to show just how ferociously it fought. Once Hakamo-o's training ends, it evolves into the powerful Kommo-o and returns to where it was born in order to watch over other Jangmo-o from a distance. Along with its protective nature, there's a legend that Kommo-o is covered in glittering scales in order to drive away a darkness that could cover the world. It endlessly battles and trains in order to obtain the power to drive back this darkness. But once it becomes Kommo-o, it doesn't continually seek out every opponent. Instead, it will ring the scales on its tail to warn of its presence, preferring to only fight strong Pokemon. Kommo-o's greatest move is said to be the uppercut, most likely the sky uppercut. This move can send opponents flying into the sky and even generates enough force to change the face of the surrounding landscape. But it also has a unique move, Clanging Scales, a likely dragon-type attack that creates a powerful sound to strike opponents, though it also lowers Kommo-o's defense stat. While we can't pinpoint exactly when Jangmo-o and Hakamo-o will evolve, we believe it'll be comparable to other past dragon Pokemon like the Dratini and Gible line. And this is backed up by the Japanese trailer where we see Hakamo-o fighting a level 37 Kangaskhan while Kommo-o challenges a level 55 Dragonite. But Jangmo-o wasn't the only Pokemon to show off two new evolutions. Bounsweet did the same with its evolutions, Steenie and Tsareena. Steenie retains the pure grass type and abilities of Bounsweet, but the calyx on its head is much harder, freeing it from worry that it'll be stabbed by other Pokemon. Whereas once nervous around others, now it can freely play with them. In addition, its fragrance becomes even more appealing, but it balances this with a tomboy personality. Living with one can be difficult as it enjoys spinning its calyx as it moves, striking nearby objects, though Steenie doesn't really care. It will also use the calyx on its head in conjunction with its strong legs to attack, first smacking them with the calyx to make the opponent flinch before following up with a kick. Steenie's name seems to be a portmanteau of the mangosteen fruit and teeny, a combination that continues with its evolution, Tsareena. Tsareena is how a Russian queen is referred to while keeping the mangosteen spelling. And this queenly disposition is fitting considering the mangosteen has earned the nickname Queen of the Fruit. Tsareena even drops the Oblivious ability in favor of the new one called Queenly Majesty, which uses its queenly stature to intimidate opponents and prevent them from using priority moves like Quick Attack. Interestingly, this is the same ability as Bruxish's Dazzling, just a different name. We guess Bruxish just isn't queen enough for it. Unsurprisingly, Tsareena has the nature of nobility, and any Pokemon or human that approaches it with evil in mind will be punished quickly. It will even glare fiercely at its own trainer if the two of them aren't in sync, or if ordered to use an ineffective move. Because of this powerful nature, only the strongest Steenie can evolve, and even then, only with the blessing of the other Steenie. This newfound strength is used to protect the vulnerable Bounsweet. The kicking power of Steenie is increased significantly when it comes to Tsareena, as it's able to attack with graceful movements. It even uses its scent to mesmerize opponents, allowing for a secondary strike. And it has a unique move in the form of the Trop Kick. This move lowers the opponent's attack by raining hot kicks upon them, but it also indicates that the Bounsweet line will be more focused on physical attacks rather than special. But Tsareena could possibly lose its strength if touched on the crown-like extension on its head. Unfortunately, the trailers don't indicate when Bounsweet or Steenie could evolve. All that's shown is the trainer fighting a Tsareena at level 50. Could it evolve naturally, or will it require a stone? We just don't know, though the Trop Kick could indicate a more natural evolution. But again, that's just guesswork on our part. The final evolution is one we've seen before, though we didn't know its name at the time. Now we know that Cutiefly's evolution is Ribombee, and it keeps the same typing and abilities. Ribombee busy themselves by collecting flower nectar and pollen. Because of this work, Ribombee hate getting rained on. Fluffy hairs hold the pollen they've gathered in place, but the rain makes them wet, dirty, and unable to handle the load. So the Alolan people know that if Ribombee are visiting fields of flowers, fair weather will continue for some time. The pollen and nectar is used to create balls known as pollen puffs, which serve as food. This pollen and nectar is used to create balls known as pollen puffs, which serve as food. However, they can also use these puffs to cause effects like paralysis or dizziness on opponents, or have relaxing effects like relieving exhaustion. While it's not outright said to be a move, it seems like this pollen puff could be a random move that either helps you or hurts your opponent, but you'll have no idea which it'll be. But we don't know this for sure. Perhaps you'll have some measure of control. We see Rabombi at level 35 in the Japanese trailer, though we're not sure if this is a clear indication of when it evolves. Along with all of these evolutions, two new Alolan forms were revealed, Grimer and Muck. Alolan Grimer is slightly shorter than normal and over 25 pounds heavier. This is due to how the people of Alola treat them. As the population increased, garbage became a serious problem. They solved it by importing Grimer from other regions and feeding them this excess garbage. The intake changed Grimer's body composition and form, giving it a dual poison and dark type, as well as two new possible abilities, Poison Touch and Gluttony. What seem to be teeth are actually residual toxins from the trash it consumes. Over time, they've hardened and crystallized to the point that nobody can figure out how to break them down, making them extremely dangerous. In addition, Grimer is always eating garbage due to its constant hunger. If nothing is available to eat, it will instead consume other manufactured objects. The various garbage processing plants across Alola utilize more than 100 Grimer, where they are fed all of the trash in Alola. Their darker design indicates a higher concentration of oil, and the yellow gunk around its mouth reflects this, referencing the yellow buildup that occurs in cars if water mixes with oil. Like Alolan Grimer, Alolan Muck is slightly taller than its normal counterpart and nearly twice as heavy. It keeps the same abilities and typings of Alolan Grimer as well. In addition, its colorful design is an indication of the oil in its body. Oil spills mixed with water cause a colorful effect at the surface, which explains why the colors on Muck are constantly moving. In either case, Alolan Muck will eat whatever is in reach without stopping. If it ever actually feels hungry, it'll run wild. Many suspect that this constant need comes from the inability to maintain its energy without a constant intake of toxins, as it's also used to consume waste products and manufactured materials. But this accumulation has also brought about a new kind of toxin. In addition, it also has the same poisonous crystals as Grimer, except they've spread all over its body. Muck will actually use them in the same manner of other Pokemon using their fangs or claws, giving it access to bite attacks as we see in the trailer, and likely scratching attacks as well. Interestingly, both Grimer and Muck produce and store their toxins within their bodies, so most won't even notice any unpleasant smells when near them, which likely explains the loss of their stench ability. That's all of the new Pokemon, but we also met two new trainers. The first is Ilima, a trial captain that specializes in normal types. Ilima graduated from the trainer school and has become a kind of hero to the students there. This is reflected in his character design, as he's shown carrying a tablet and a notebook. He's even wearing a special glove since he writes so often, while his trial captain badge is tucked in his hair. Considering Ilima's status at the trainer school, it's unsurprising that we meet him there. One scene shows him with Kukui in a building with at least 3 floors thanks to the stairwells leading both up and down. And considering the trainer school connection, we believe this is the place. The schools in Pokemon have gradually grown over the years, but this seems to be the biggest yet, comparable perhaps to a Japanese high school, all but confirming two things. First is that this trainer school is located next to the Pokemon Center here, and second, Ilima is the first trial captain players will face. It's immediately backed up by having the scene shift to the cave-like area we've seen over and over again when the trailers describe the trials. Now we know that we meet Ilima here as well, and perhaps on the other side of the cave exit in the back, that's where either the Totem Gumshoes or Alolan Raticate is challenged. But as the trial begins, Ilima walks off to the side and we see the familiar layout. But what's different is that there's a person near the cave exit. We can't tell who it is, but could they be there to prevent you from leaving the trial until it's finished? This could confirm that the totem Pokemon is through there and the challenge can be completed within this single area. Either way, we actually see the area where the totem Pokemon is fought in the Japanese trailer, and Ilima is there as well. It seems as if this takes place after the battle with the totem Pokemon and likely before you receive your symbol of victory, whatever that may be. The final scene with Ilima shows that he'll be there when you confront Team Skull in the first city. He seems to be familiar with who they are, but this also indicates that trial captains may have an active role in the story, like some of the later gym leaders. As for how extensive it is, we'll have to wait and see. Finally, we have Olivia, who is the Kahuna of Akala Island and, like Hala, possesses a Z-ring. She states outright that she specializes in rock-type Pokemon, and in battle we see that she only uses 3, just like Hala, one of which is a Nosepass that's held in an Ultra Ball. But the Japanese trailer shows that she uses a Lycanroc Midnight form as well, which is interesting because the day setting indicates that this is Pokemon Sun. That could mean that in Pokemon Moon, her Lycanroc is in its midday form, giving players a way to enter it in their Pokedex. Now, what is her final Pokemon? Well, since she likes rock types, it feels like the perfect opportunity to have either Solrock or Lunatone be in her party. But the most important aspect of all of this is how she specializes in rock types, something we weren't sure the Kahunas did. This means that rather than the 18 different trial captains supplying the primary Z crystals, the Kahunas may fill that role as well. It brings the total amount of possible trial captains down to 14, with the 4 Kahunas filling in the gaps. And since we've seen Hala use Crabrawler, it likely means that he specializes in fighting types. There's no way to know for sure yet, of course, but it makes sense to us because of how early you received the Z ring. But returning to Olivia, her design is covered in rock accessories, bracelets, necklaces, and anklets, each containing a rock or a kind of gem. She's said to have extraordinary skill considering how young she is to be the Kahuna, but she tends to insist that she's still just a normal girl. We see in the Japanese trailer that she greets you when you first arrive on Akala Island, along with Mallow. It seems as if she was waiting for you considering this conversation happens right outside the blue-roofed building that serves as a dock. She's met one final time in the trailer in what we presume is the nearby hotel. Could this be where she's based? After all, Hala is challenged in the opening village, which could indicate that traveling around each island is a circular path to return to the Kahuna. But that's just speculation on our part. Okay, we're almost done here, but the Japanese trailer also showed off Mega Evolutions once again, and while nothing too major was shown, it does reveal that Mega Kangaskhan is no longer as powerful as it once was. Rather than the second hit doing half the damage of the original, it seems to have been cut to a quarter, which should help prevent Mega Kangaskhan from becoming the sheer powerhouse that it was previously. But that's everything we could find in the latest Pokemon Sun and Moon trailer. It won't be long until we're all playing it and seeing what changes and secrets it holds. Until then, we have the demo that releases on October 18th, which we'll be sure to cover. Until then, let us know if we missed anything in the comments. Thanks for watching and be sure to subscribe to Game Explained for more on Pokemon and other things gaming.